Mr. Andy Mitten, prolific author, journalist for outlets worldwide, including The Athletic, first and foremost founder and editor of United We Stand fanzine, Urmston's finest export. How are you?
Fine, Steve. Looking forward to this. All good. About to hit the road for 11 days, which shows how the media game is changing. Doing live podcasts, doing an event with Dennis Irwin in Cardiff on Saturday, and then going to Belfast, Dublin, Cork, Newry, Sligo, Oslo. So it just will be non-stop on the road, which is really enjoyable, but it's full on as well. And in between that, because I'm into stuff like this, I'm going to go and visit Derry because I've never been. Just going to have a day off from talking about Manchester United. So, you know, it's exciting, but I'm balancing that with having a young family as well. And, my family come first. But then, the media's changed a lot. People don't buy newspapers as much as they used to. Podcasts are really popular. I'm doing this with you. I originally knew you as a writer, also from Urmston, where I'm from. But then United We Stand, which you mentioned, that's doing really well. Although the Manchester weather does its best to hamper it game after game. It's so dispiriting. It's been really bad the last month, but thankfully we've got like the highest ever level of subscriptions, so that just gives us um, some security. So yeah, crack on. We work hard. We do what we do.
Well, just looking over your shoulder there, you got Bring On United. That's
Mhm.
just come out this week in paperback as well.
Yeah, that came out hardback last November. That's Manchester United in a naughty. So I spent like 2, 3, 4 hours with people like Nemanja Vidic, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, John O'Shea, Darren Fletcher. Big interviews into the noughties at Old Trafford, and just following on from books I did in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So absolutely loved doing it. Didn't love it when I was in the middle of it, being chased down to get it finished last summer. I think a book takes about 800 hours, and I just lost last summer to it. But I was pleased when it came out, and it sold really well, and that's important because you've got a lot of people now is like, give me something for free. I think the nice thing with the book is they're like really nice presents. You can't just give someone a link for, yeah, Dad, here's a link for Christmas. But books are nice. It's done well. So, and again, I'm coming back to this point, our industry is changing massively, but some parts of it are still doing good. And if I'm going to do original journalism, it's got to be paid for in some way. And the way that I do it, if I fly to Holland to meet Yap Stam and get him to talk to me properly, believe it or not, my flight's not free. So it all needs paying for. So did it, and I'm having a year off. No daft walks this year, and no daft books.
Well, you've earned the rest, haven't you, to be fair? So you would think with it being in the international break that there's no football to ruin anything. It might just calm down a little bit. You might be able to draw a breath. But no, that's when all the off-field stories come out this week. We've seen a raft of them. The one that I'd like to talk to you about is Sir Jim Ratcliffe giving very public backing, possibly unexpectedly, to Ruben Amorim. What was your first reaction when you heard or read the quotes?
I actually listened to it first because that was recorded for a podcast. I think the embargo was broken by a newspaper, so that's when people started seeing the quotes first. But I'd rather be true to the people who got the interview rather than the people who broke the embargo for the interview. So I listened to it. It was a business podcast. And then the last bit of it was about Manchester United, and that probably got them a lot more attention than the business aspect of it. I think my view on Jim Ratcliffe is United fans complained for years that there was no communication coming from the leaders, the Glazers. Now we are getting communication. Give a big interview to United We Stand last year. I didn't agree with him in some parts. I agreed with him in others, but I really like the fact that he sat down with me. No holds bars at all. Nothing changed. Nothing pre-approved. None of that. It's like bang, go at you two. I mean, we were arguing at one point, but I respected him for that. I think he genuinely wants to improve Manchester United, putting money in. I think he'll get things right. He'll get things wrong. I think the subject of Ruben Amorim, It's a legitimate one. I've got friends who cannot see a way forward with this. I've got others who think give him more time. And neither I nor my mates are making the decision, but Jim Ratcliffe is. So for him to come out and say that, won't be the first person who's come out to back a manager. I agree with the point that about the knee jerkism. Manchester United's such an emotional club. It's ridiculous. And
Yeah.
these swings in the mood doesn't help anyone. And online makes it far worse. So you have former players saying back in my day, yeah, but there was no social media then. And if you look at like X, it's toxic, it doesn't help anybody. So you get these mad swings, even within games online. It's not like that at the match. So Chelsea, a couple of weeks ago, I think the crowd was pretty supportive. And Manchester United won the game. Online, early doors in that match, I said the Stretford end are singing for Ruben Amorim, which is a fact. I didn't put an opinion to it, it was a fact. And got loads of negative comments, not at me, but this is a disgrace that it's happening. And by the end of the game, which United won, they'd miraculously all turned positive. So how can anyone work in an environment which is so unstable and so knee jerk? But then finishing 15th is not good enough. We know what we're seeing with our eyes. People are paying good money. They're entitled to their opinions. They're entitled to tire of the coach. And they are legitimate opinions. Manchester United should not be finishing 15th. Amorim needed wins this season. When they didn't come, the pressure increased. But what is pressure? What is it? Is it people shouting online? Is it people writing about it? Um, there's this massive environment around Manchester United, including a lot of people who like to see United not doing well, make money out of United not doing well. If I showed you my phone, Steve, after United lose, it's 10 times busier than after they win. I've now got media outlets coming to me, almost apologetic. Yes, sorry, but it is a club in crisis. Well, why didn't you ring me last week after we beat Chelsea? Why are you ringing me after Brentford? And then you get mates going, he's got to go now, any mate. What are you asking me to stand that up? You asking me to endorse that? Or do you want a factual answer? I've got no evidence that he's going to be sacked. Yeah, but he's got to. Why has he got to? Who's saying that? That's your opinion. You're entitled to that opinion. But there's a big difference between opinion and facts. I cannot see Ruben Amorim lasting 3 years if United were to finish 15th this season and next season. I
Yeah.
just I just think it just wouldn't be nowhere near good enough. Um, but I don't think that will happen. B, I do see some positives.
Yeah.
Individual players, recruitment. I enjoyed the Sunderland game at the weekend. The goalkeeper was good. I think Sheshko was really good. And because there was a win, that just totally changes the mood. But it's ridiculous that it's surging on a game to game basis. And I just don't think it helps people. But then fans are frustrated because last season was bobbins. So I get the different arguments for it. I could argue to you strongly now why Amorim should A, keep his job, and B, lose his job. But then I could have done that with the last six Manchester United managers. I think there's outsiders are baffled that fans still sing his name, but they do. There's nothing to do with them what Manchester United fans sing. And there's just this expectation that, this would never happen at Real Madrid or Barcelona. Maybe not, but Manchester United are not Real Madrid or Barcelona. At Real Madrid and Barcelona, you take 27 fans to an away game. At Manchester United, we take 3,000 and have 16,000 applications for every single away game. Different clubs, both have the cons, both have the positives. But it's weird. The whole environment is really weird. I hope it comes right for him. I won't sack him. And that doesn't mean next time United lose, I get a load of knobheads going, well, you fucking think he should stay. I'm trying to give a balanced appraisal. And I respect the fact that not everyone views it like I do. But the lurches are just completely crazy. United have got to be significantly better than last season. I think a reasonable target for this season is European qualification for next year. I'm not even saying Champions League, Steve, but I think with, say, Europa League, you get money, you get more games. The squad needs games. You having a problem this season where hardly any young players will get opportunities because there's just not enough games. There's just not enough games. Not enough games for the club. You know, the club is structured to be at the latter stages of the Champions League, not scratching around with no European football. But it happens. I was in Milan last week. AC Milan are not playing European football this year. You know,
Yeah.
surprises happen in football, but that's also what makes football great. That it's so unpredictable.
That's the thing is, as you made the point there, you can make a really compelling case to keep him, really compelling case, with the numbers that it's not good enough and it has to change. How much of Jim Ratcliffe's quotes do you think are geared towards trying to maybe break that cycle? Because we've seen it so many times where manager comes in, bit of an upturn, results start to level off, then you start hearing the murmurs. The copy and paste story always appears about players not being convinced by the methods. And then it becomes self-fulfilling, pressure builds, then the manager goes, and then you go around again. How much of, like I say, how much of Ratcliffe's comments do you think are potentially trying to head that off and just break it, just get out of that? Because the whole club, it's in an echo chamber, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's given a pretty honest answer. That's how he sees it. And you know, if Ruben Amorim is sacked, it isn't going to reflect well on him either. Just as Dan Ashworth losing his job didn't reflect well on him. They backed the manager. They backed him properly this season. With players, they made difficult decisions, moving players on as well, and they want to see their project vindicated. If they're saying we know how to run a football club better than the Glazers, then they've got to show that. And dropping from, you know, top 6 to 15th is not showing that. So if they're showing that they've got a long-term plan, which is going to take time and there's going to be some growing pains through it, a lot of fans are like, okay, but they do have the limits as well. And I think the recruitment so far, fans will be like, yeah, okay. But there's also a realism with it because United are no longer the power that they were, no longer as attractive to players as they were. So if you go back to January, United signed Patrick Dorgu. United knew he's not the best left back in the world. They would have tried to sign Nuno Mendes from PSG, but PSG are like, yeah, I bet you won't mind Nuno Mendes. There's not a chance of that happening. And if you Nuno Mendes living in Paris playing under Luis Enrique for a team who are about to become the best in the world, why would you want to leave? So you've got to know your lane a little bit. You've got to know where you're at. You've got to sell this idea of a project. You've got to say, we're playing in front of the biggest crowds. We're a huge club. The Premier League's a virtue. Everyone will know Manchester United's name. But just playing in front of big crowds doesn't guarantee Schalke 04 success, does it? And United do pay good money, but there will be clubs who pay even more money now. So you're not going going back 20 years, United could have gone for a Ronaldinho or a Juan Varane or a top. And going just below that, you've got to get emerging talents now, players who are going to become great, which needs smart scouting, which takes time, a smarter academy, which takes time. So all these things take time. The stadium, be it a redevelopment or a new one, that's going to take time as well. And the football fans are not always patient. And yet, at United games, I think they've been really patient with the manager.
Yeah. That's it, isn't it? Is time is the key. It's almost every aspect. When you're walking into the mess that Ineos walked into, it was always going to take time, wasn't it? And it's going to be a period of change and so on and so forth. Change is always messy, but you're trying to carry that out in an environment where there is no patience.
Yeah. And it doesn't make it any easier. And I always say, there's so many virtues to, if we're talking about fans, the loyalty. I love the loyalty of the Manchester United fan or the British football fan. Um, Go every week, support through thick and thin. You don't get that around the world. But I also think if you let fans choose the players, you'd have no players left within a month because there's always a scapegoat. So at the moment, you've got Delo getting loads of stick. And he's not having the best season, but you could argue support your players, don't get on the back. Um, but I suppose there's got to be minimum expectations, and the fact that Old Trafford has stayed full, that United fans are still there through pretty challenging times. But then I speak to fans of other clubs and go, challenging. You're playing European football most year. You've won this number of trophies before Sir Alex Ferguson left. And they've got a point as well. But you have these expectations because you're a super club. But then when I was growing up, my dream was to see United win the league once in my lifetime. But then I've been spoilt rotten. I've got young United We Stand writers whose dream is also to see the team win the league once while they're old enough to remember it. And I respect that. And Manchester United should be doing far better than the team have done. So much money's been wasted. So much money's been spunked on the wrong type of players. So much money's been used to pay off staff. It's not been a model football club. And I travel all the time and see really well run football clubs and really badly run football clubs. And I see completely different constructs to football clubs. I used to think that FC Barcelona was the perfect model because it was owned by the fans. And I love that idea. But then I see that actually fans just want to sign players all the time and don't really care about the financial consequences. And believe it or not, if you borrow money, you have to pay it back. I was in Atalanta last week, really well run football club, and that is showed. I think they finished third last year in Serie A for a small club. Um, I see Real Madrid closely how they work, and that's just they're like Man United. They're just absolutely massive. They bulldoze everything in front of them. They dominate the media agenda. Then I see the German clubs who are really annoyed because the Premier League's become too powerful, and so the Italian clubs who are regressing, and so the Spanish clubs because they all the money's going to the Premier League and they can't get the same TV deals. So every club's got its particular set of issues. And United have benefited from a load of the wins in football. The fact that it's in the Premier League, biggest club in the Premier League, United had the money to go out and sign all these top players. Unfortunately, a lot of them have not worked out. And yet we all bought into it. I don't know one person who was protesting when Alexis Sanchez signed,
Yeah.
or Bastian Schweinsteiger signed, or Angel Di Maria signed. I was writing 2,000 word pieces saying why Angel Di Maria is a great player. And actually, he was and still is. But it's weird that so many of them don't work out at Manchester United because you've got a lot of pressure. It's a heavy shirt to wear, and not all players can handle it. And they see the social media followings just zoom up, and some of them get carried away with it, and some of them turn into absolute tits. I've seen it, and the people around them do not help the situation. I've seen other players, big names, literally go in, having been at the club for a month, and go, "I cannot handle this." Because me and my family are getting abuse on a daily basis. And that isn't on either. So you've got this mad demographic, a global demographic. And there are positives that come with that. Your big wages, the glory, potentially. But there's also a downside to it. And when the team are not doing well and expectations are high, that can be pretty toxic at times. I think United have got to recruit better, got to be smarter. It had become bloated to the point that it was starting to lose money. So to get out of that cycle, United spent even more money, but that's really risky. So you sign Casemiro to get back into the Champions League, but it's not really the best long-term move. You should be building. I think the club now feel, not without reason, that they're building a solid foundation rather than one which is built on sand. And I wish them well. I wish the people in charge well. Hope it works for them. I'm a Manchester United fan. I've never hidden that, but it's a really tough job, and I don't know if it's going to work out.
I think the one thing that strikes me is obviously a lot of things strike me. One thing that does strike me is that we've not seen this team with any confidence or momentum, which are the absolute foundations of any progress. If you go back, it's probably midway through. So it's post 22 World Cup, wasn't it? You get that unbelievable run where Rashford's scoring for fun, win the League Cup, and it basically ground to a halt at Anfield with that. Well, in the second half at Anfield in that nightmarish game, 7-0. And I don't think he's recovered since then.
No, I mean, I remember meeting Eric Ten Hag in December 22 on that warm stroke wet weather pre-season, mid-season break in Andalusia, and really been impressed by him. Of course you are, because you're winning every week. So you
Yeah,
think this man is the Messiah. And earlier on that year, I pushed for Luis Enrique to be Man United manager. I put him in touch with Manchester United, but United were already quite far down the road with um, Eric Ten Hag, and Luis Enrique was managing Spain, and it was a World Cup year, etc. But there were no complaints about Eric Ten Hag. 4 months in, the team were winning, were doing well. I think the high point, maybe the two games against Barcelona.
yeah,
Um, and I've spoke to both Eric Ten Hag and Xavi Hernandez, both managers, about this in detail. Xavi's raving about United. Ten Hag's like, yeah, we had a good team, didn't we? And what went wrong then is and then Anfield obviously came, and that was
mm,
shocking.
yeah,
But also, I'm not going to say you could laugh it off. It was just it was a freak. But unfortunately, Liverpool have got much stronger. Manchester United have got much weaker. And then you get the forces, just the walls start to close in, and we keep seeing it with different managers. And I think by 24, it was really difficult for Eric Ten Hag. You had the cup win, but there's got to be minimum requirements, and he wasn't reaching them, and Ruben Amorim's not reaching them. So what do you do? You just sack again and bring another guy in, and then 11 months down the time, you're talking about sacking yet another person. It's a shame for Ten Hag. I think he's a good person. I think he's a good coach, but he just got eaten up by the Manchester United machine, and he made mistakes as well. Some of the recruitment was leaned too heavily into him. I don't think Anthony was a good signing for Manchester United. But I've spoken to Ten Hag about Anthony, and he's a good player, but he made mistakes as well. So it's on the player. So if you arrive at Man United and you've got this massive contract with life-changing amounts of money,
mm,
you've got to try and keep your feet on the ground as well. And it's very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. And it takes a certain type of person, which is why background checks, detailed background checks, are really important. And I've met Brandon Bumo. Pretty good impression of him.
right,
Met Matthias Cunha at Carrington last month. I was at Wolves in January, and my impression of Matthias Cunha was troublesome. I was speaking to other players, and then I met him in the real world a month ago. I'm like, you're actually really intelligent. I think his wife's a lawyer. He speaks 5 languages, and he was outscoring me on geography, which is pretty hard because I know me shit. I'm like, I'm having you. I've not met a new goalkeeper yet. I'm told Seshko is pretty diligent. So, yeah, good. But I'm also aware, Steve, I'm saying this when all of them are in the honeymoon period,
yeah,
and you could throw these back at me a years down the line if they've not been doing as well as possible. And that's what people do. So that adds even more negativity into the whole